Welcome to Afrik Today, the digital TV based in Washington, D.C. I will be your host for this new show, Census in our community. And my name is Ruth Nimona. Here you will know everything about the census in Montgomery County. We will have different guests for you on this show, and please stay tuned and watch Afrik Today, the best of digital TV. So we have an amazing guest today on our show, Census in our community. The guest we have today is a special guest, and his name is Shawn Ellis. Hi, Shawn. How you doing today?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Great. So we have amazing viewers who would love to know who are you and how your participation into the census in Montgomery County is happening. So they want to know more about you.
Well, thanks for asking. So, my name is Shawn Ellis. I am currently serving as the 2020 Census Manager for Montgomery County, and I actually work out of the County Executive's Office of Community Partnerships. Our office has been tasked with running the entire campaign for the 2020 census, and that's what we've been working on for now over a year and a half.
Wow, that is amazing. So, I have a couple of questions for you. So, what can you say about the census in a community, and how often do you guys do these programs?
So, important to know the census happens every 10 years. And here in the United States, we've been doing it
Yeah.
successfully every 10 years since 1790. So, that's a long time. The census is something that's mandated by the Constitution. So, it is not something that's optional. It's something that we have to do. But it's really important to not just the residents of Montgomery County, but the residents of counties and states across the entire country.
We'll have other people watching that will want to know when should people complete their census?
That's a great question. So this year's a little different than it's ever than any other year in any other census. But the census officially ends on September 30th. So that means that our
Right.
folks who live here have just over a week to finish it. So we hope that everyone who hasn't done it yet will go and do it today. But if not today, certainly before September 30th.
Great. So this question is very personal to me too. So it have to do with African community. So why should we as African community participate in the census?
That's also another great question. So, specific to the African community, but immigrant communities in general. Um,
Great.
this will be the first time ever that, as Africans or as myself, a Caribbean American, we have the opportunity to self-identify who we are. So, previous census, 2010 and in 2000, we had to check a box that said Black or African American. For the first time ever, we have an
Mm.
opportunity to not just write in Black, but now we can write Nigerian, Ghanaian, Kenyan, South
Ooh.
African, in my case, Barbadian or Jamaican or Haitian. That's really, really important. And the reason it matters is it's important to let our local government and those folks who were elected to represent us to know exactly where we live, what numbers we live in, so that when they're
Right.
considering new policies and services, they can make sure that they're available to us in linguistically but in culturally appropriate ways. So it's really, really important.
Great. I'm very happy to hear that. So I want to know, what does the county stand to lose if everybody is not counted and if everybody does not participate in the census?
So there's a lot at stake here. So if we back up and talk about why the census matters, it's about representation generally. So the census data is used to determine how many representatives each state is going to get in Congress, right? So that's really important. But as
Right.
important as that, it's about funding. The federal government allocates $675 billion a year to states to fund federal
Wow.
programs. It's a lot of money. It's estimated for every Marylander not counted in the 2020 census, we lose $1,825 per person per year. Over the course of 10 years, that's over $18,000 per person we risk losing to fund really important programs that sustain our education systems, our health providers, roads, Pell grants, Head Start. All these programs are really important to us, are at stake if we don't get the funding we need.
Wow, that is good to know. And we'll have so many people listening to you, and definitely will know how important it is to help participate in a very important program like this. So, how can someone get involved to help ensure everyone is counted in the 2020 census?
I'm really glad you asked. So, as I said, we have a week before this ends. The first thing you can do is do the census yourself. And if you have done it yourself, please tell your family members and neighbors, please do the census. The second thing that's happening is this weekend is our last opportunity to go out into our communities and encourage as many households as possible to do the census.
Right.
So, this is our census weekend. What that means for us is that we will be out in the community across Montgomery County, in Gaithersburg. We will be in Wheaton. We will be in downtown Silver Spring. We will be in Tacoma Park hosting census events. Anyone who's interested in joining one of our events to work as a volunteer to help promote the census and encourage residents to do the census, I hope will consider doing that. And the way they can actually go about doing that is to visit Montgomery Serves. So it's MONTGOMERYSERVES.org. Visit that website and sign up for one of our events. We should have anywhere between 5 to 10 events available across Montgomery County this weekend for residents to come and join us. We will have giveaway bags. We will try to make it as fun as possible, but we're also adhering to social distancing guidelines. We'll make available masks, fun T-shirts, and hand sanitizers for the event. And we invite everyone who's available and interested in helping us do this work over the next 7 to 10 days to join us.
Great. So I also have this amazing question that I love to know about. So I know you guys have had amazing strategies put together to make sure that you guys achieve your goals more than what you guys did the previous campaign. So how many people have responded to the census compared to the previous campaign?
Another great question. So here in Montgomery County in 2010, 76% of our households responded to the census. That's not bad, not great. That still means that just over under a quarter of the households didn't respond, or at least respond on their own. This time around, considering the pandemic and the difficult moment that we find ourselves in, we've had 77% of our households respond up to this moment. So we've exceeded 2010's numbers, and that we are encouraged about. But we also know that if we know how much money is at stake, that $18,000 over the course of the next 10 years, that's still just
Yeah.
over 20% of our households who didn't respond with us. And we know that we need to get that. So while we're excited that we've exceeded 2010's numbers, we also know that there's still work to be done. So we are pushing over the next 10 days to get as many households to consider doing the census as possible.
Great. That's So we have America is made of Maryland. In Maryland, we have amazing immigrants that they are here, and some of them have documents and some don't. Some are citizens and some are not. So people want to know: do you have to be a citizen to participate in the census?
Absolutely not. What I need everyone to understand is this is not about citizenship. It's not about your status. It's not about your age. It's not about where you live or who you live with. Everyone in this country needs to be counted. So please understand two things. A, if you're a citizen or not a citizen, you need to participate. B, your information is protected. The US government cannot share this information with either local, state, or federal law enforcement agencies. They can't even share this information with property managers, right? So whatever you share on this census questionnaire is private and can't be shared and is punishable by up to $250,000 fine or 5 years imprisonment. So it is safe. We need everyone to participate. You need to know it has nothing to do with your status.
Great. So as we're getting close to the end of the census, what do we do to engage more African community or Mexican community, different kind of community. So what can they do to engage?
So that's the $1 million question. What we're doing is hosting events outside of our ethnic grocery stores. We're outside of shopping planners, plazas. We are in this moment. We know a lot of our families, because of COVID, are experiencing food insecurity, having issues either with their jobs or finding food. So we are partnering with local organizations or hosting these food distribution events, and we are distributing information on the census, information on free COVID testing. We're sharing information on voting registration and how to get your mail-in ballot, where you can get a lot of different resources that we know our communities need in this moment. So anyone who is interested, please feel free to share census information that we can make available to you. Share opportunities with your family members, with your friends, people in your circle about why the census is important, how important it's going to be to not just where we are in this moment, but the recovery of Montgomery County and the state of Maryland over the next 10 years to make sure we get back to where we were prior to this COVID.
Right. So, we people watching you right now will definitely want a one-on-one advice, a one-on-one information that is definitely going to encourage them to go through this 2020 census, and is going to motivate them coming directly from you. So, what do you have to tell them today?
What do I have to tell them? What I can say to you
Yeah.
is the census has never been more important than it is today, especially for our communities to recover from COVID and to ensure that all of our communities, whether it's our immigrant communities like my family or my circle of friends that I grew up with, or people who've lived here for generations. So it's important that we encourage them to participate. If you have questions about the census generally, you can visit 2020census.gov and have your questions answered there. If you want to do the census itself, you can visit my2020census.gov and you can
Mhm.
answer the questionnaire there in English, and up to 12 other languages you can actually do the census in. And if you want questions for us from Montgomery County and what resources are available, or how we can be helpful to you, you can reach out to me personally or to our office at 2020 census at Montgomery County .gov. Sorry, Montgomery County, Maryland.gov.
Okay. So, you said you guys were going towards the end of the census program. So when should people complete their census? Like when does it end precisely? That the day, the time, those kind of information.
Okay, so it's a little complicated. It's not complicated. So right now, in this moment, the census ends on September 30th. So that's next Wednesday. However, for those folks who've seen some of the announcements in the news, there is a case in California where California is suing the federal government to have it extended. So originally, the census was supposed to be extended out to October 31st, and it was shortened by a
Oh,
complete month. And so there's a court case that will be decided hopefully by this Thursday. Will determine whether or not we get an extra month or not. Regardless of what happens on Thursday, my ask, my plead is that everyone, especially in our immigrant communities, because we are the folks who tend to be undercounted every time there is a census,
right.
that you do it today, you do it now, and include everybody who lives in your household. And when I say everyone including in your household, it means not just you and your nuclear family. It means your auntie or uncle who's staying with you because they are staying with you for the next couple months. It means your grandmother who's been living with you for the last 7 months to help you take care of your kids. It is the folks who are renting the apartment in the basement. Everyone in that house needs to be counted, because when we look forward for 10 years from now, think about how the county uses that information to plan for schools. So if we don't know that there was a whole family living in your basement, your neighborhood elementary school may be overcrowded because they just didn't anticipate the number of kids they were going to have to prepare for, right? Or some
Right.
of our newer developing communities now who've expanded. So we think about the folks who live in Clarksburg or even in East County. If you want a new library or you want a new community center, this is the information that is used to determine who gets that new library and who gets that new community center. So it's really important if that's the thing, if those are the things that are important to you and that's what you want, or you think your school needs to be expanded, or need a new school for your community. This is how that happens. So it's really important that you know that,
Right.
and you make it happen now.
Great. And this is also a question so many people want to know because of the background, might be immigrant or somebody that moving to Maryland, and they think their private information should be confidential and they are not safe to giving that kind of information to somebody by the street, somebody by you know. So now I think they want to know like, can you talk about whether it matters or how the census information is used? Like how is it
No.
used? Because they want to know how their private information is being used.
So what's important to keep in mind is this information is really used to determine two specific things. As I said, it is how many seats each state gets in Congress, and then collectively how much money goes to these states for federal programs. But I want to be clear about
Right.
a few things as it comes down to confidentiality and the privacy of census data. The Census Bureau is required by law to keep this information confidential. All respondents are protected by law. Under Title 13 of the U.S.
Right.
Code, this information cannot be shared. And as I said to you earlier, it is illegal to share that personal information with other government agencies, and that
Right.
includes law enforcement agencies, whether it's state, local, or federal law enforcement agencies, and that includes ICE. So this information cannot be shared with anyone, and it's protected. The individual information is protected for up to 72 years. So we always have this conversation when I teach classes with our volunteers about ancestry.com, because a lot of us want to look up and see where our, for those folks who've been in this country for a long time, they want to know, oh, well, where did my grandparents or great grandparents come from? The reason that information is available is through the census data, but you can't get that information for 72 years. So you're not going to see anything
Right.
from 2000, from 1990, from 1980. 72 years you have to go back before you get to see the information about your grandparents, right? So that's how we know that this
Right.
information is not available, right? But it's also important that we understand that it's really, really important, but it's protected. You shouldn't feel insecure about how the information is going to be used. And I know a lot of our communities are concerned about that, rightfully so, especially in this moment in time.
Right. Right. So the last one you guys had was at the front of Costco, which I saw a lot of young, courageous boys and girls were very active in the census outreach. So we will have another people. We have so many people that want to participate in it. So when is going to be your next outreach, and where is this outreach holding?
Okay, so this is our last week of really of community events, and we will have quite a number of them. We will be at St. Camilla's Church on Saturday morning on East County, and that's just off of New Hampshire Avenue. We will be back at Wheaton Costco from 2 to 4 on Saturday. So if you're interested in helping us, please join us there. We will
Yeah.
be in East County at People's Baptist Church, Community Baptist Church on Wednesday morning from 12 to 2, or 12 to 3, sorry. So if you're available, you can sign up to join us there. We will be in Rockville at Mount Calvary Church at a food distribution there on Thursday. We'll be in Rockville again. Well, we're going to be all over the place. I could list all the places.
Okay.
We'll be in Gaithersburg at the H Mart, just outside of Montgomery Village on Friday afternoon from 12 to 7 in the afternoon. So if you have time and you live up county, please join us there. The full list is on our website, the montgomeryserves.org. If you visit montgomeryserves.org, you can sign up for any of those events. We'd love to have you. We have a week left to get all of our community signed up and participating. As I don't have one with me, but we have some really bright, lovely shirts that you can wear.
T-shirt. Yep, I saw them.
And you saw them. So we'll have those. If you're concerned about safety, we'll provide all of the masks you'll need. We have hand sanitizers. We also use huge posters that have not just the message, but also a QR code that any resident can pull out their phone and point at the QR code and be sent directly to the census questionnaire. They can do it there without you having to have a full conversation with them. And if you want to have the conversation, we will help residents do the census on site. So there's a lot of ways we go about ensuring that households participate, but we also want to make sure
Mhm.
that in this moment in time, everyone's safe.
Right. So I think people also that can make per long drives, people that don't have people that can take them to take them to areas where they can actually do the census. So I think they want to know, is there any place closer and convenient areas where they can do it? I know of online, and there are people that can access online because they are not, you know, technology is good, but not everybody likes it or not everybody's on it. So where can
Absolutely.
they go to their closest areas where they can easily carry on their census?
So that's a good question, and it's been a little more difficult than we anticipated it being when we planned this whole thing out. So originally, we had wanted to have every library be a place where someone can go to do the census, or even their community centers. But most libraries and community centers aren't open right now. So this is what's available to residents who want help or need assistance. You can obviously visit my2020census.gov to do it online, and you can do it in 12 different languages there. But you can also pick up the phone and call 844-330-2020 and do it over the phone. And they will ask you the questions and you can answer the questions there. You can even, and if you speak French or you speak Haitian Creole or you speak another language, and there are 12 languages you can do it in, you can get assistance over the phone that way. And if you're not available to do it, if you don't want to pick up the phone because you want to do it in person and you're not comfortable going online, as I said, we will be all over Montgomery County. And you can see the list of places where we'll be over the next 10 days by visiting our volunteer center website. And again, that's montgomeryserves.org. And you can see the list of places where we'll be and we can walk you through the entire census questionnaire. The thing to remember, though, is it's not very long. It takes no more than 5 minutes, depending on how many people live in your household. And the questions aren't that intrusive. They're really just asking your name, the date of birth of the folks who live in the house, whether the house is rented or owned, and then they want to know information about your race and ethnicity. And really, that's just about it.
All right. So, how important, because we have, like I said, how important should people get into this census and take part of it, and how is it going to impact them? We know about the African American community, we know about the Haitian community, we know about the Hispanic community. How is this census going to impact them in their various community? Because we all have heard about census, and people are talking. They're like, oh, yeah, we did it last time, but I didn't see what benefits me. You know, they want to know how it's going to benefit them in their different ethnicity areas.
No, great question. So again, if you are African, if you are from the Caribbean, if you're even from the Middle East, what you need to understand is prior to this time around, there was no opportunity for you to self-identify who you were. And why that matters is that means that Montgomery County has no idea exactly how many Nigerians live in Montgomery County. And think about why that matters.
Right.
If you're going to go to your local official or your local elected official and say, hey, you're not providing my community with services in a way that represent our needs or are appropriate culturally to our needs or linguistically appropriate. But that the data didn't exist before this time around. It is important that we all understand this is our opportunity to place our flag in the ground and say, hey, here in Montgomery County, there are 20,000 Nigerians that live here. It's important that you're making these services available to us in a way that's appropriate to us, or that we need more folks who are providing services to us in a way that's linguistically appropriate. You can't do that if we don't have the information. You can't stand before your county council member and advocate for why it's important that they think about your community specifically, because that information does exist to some extent for the Latino community, and to some extent obviously it exists for the African American community. But what didn't exist is, hey, yes, we're all Black, but we're all not culturally the same. So we know that the differences
Right.
between the needs of the African community and the needs from the African American community. And that's the same thing for the Caribbean community. So it's important that now that we have this opportunity, we stand up, our community stand up and say, hey, we're here, we exist in these numbers. And it's important that you take us in consideration when these policy decisions are being made. And the only way that happens is that we have this data that provides a strong evidence to how important we are in our communities.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Shawn. I've seen the work you guys are doing. It is incredible. I was present, and we all need to go out and vote. I mean, we all need to go out and be counted for our census. So, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being present in this show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi,
Please go out and do your census and vote. Register to vote.
and
Get your
vote.
mail-in ballots. That's as important as the census. And that's next on the list is vote. Register to vote. Order your mail-in ballot because we don't want you standing in lines this year.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for watching Census in our community. This is an amazing show. Stay tuned with us. We have amazing things bringing for you. You are going to be entertained. We're bringing you everything that have to do with our census in our community. So stay tuned to Afrique Today, your digital TV.